What is the future of the customer experience in applying AI? That's a question we wanted to know. So we asked facilitator Raul Grunberg. He's a strategic consultant and private label marketing specialist. Welcome, Raul.
Thank you, Gene. Always a pleasure to work with you.
So theme number 5, how have virtual assistants acting as a personal concierge changed, improved, or harmed the customer experience today?
Well, we had proposed 5 different themes that we've worked through. This is the 5th of the 5 that basically today takes AI and for the biggest bang for your buck uses that technology to advance and optimize the customer experience.
Excellent. And I know you had a great panel that's been along the way and some newcomers. Tell us about the diverse panel you guys had on this.
We have really a great group from all kinds of backgrounds. Up to this theme, our overall highest contributors have been Joanna, Jack, and Donald. For this particular theme, Joanna was a very active contributor, but Jay, Jenna, Rob, and Carla really stepped up to the plate and made some valuable contributions.
You had a great conversation with all these great knowledge leaders. Let's talk about your executive summary.
So, trying to put it into one sentence, I expressed it, virtual and personal assistants driven by AI are everywhere. Great for routine tasks because they are inexpensive and efficient. Alexa, Siri, Echo, and other such devices embody this technology today. And I'm sure that our listeners recognize those names, probably have them in their homes, in their cars, their offices, since they're everywhere. To support that, the Google Assistant was recognized as everyone's favorite virtual assistant and found it to be useful for general knowledge and other things such as ordering food, making reservations, online shopping. Demographics play a large role in foretelling the future of virtual assistant space, and really kind of on 2 different parts that I'll talk about a little bit later. The underlying technology can monitor a lot of data sets, so this big data analytics is such an important part of all this, and the ability to take care of so many activities without failing. And finally, users today are smart. So we're talking about, our customers. They do not appreciate being told what to do, but do appreciate experiences that knows what the user will do next, plus giving them choices.
Well, this is a really great executive summary. Let's get into it. Let's go to key point number 1. What are the strengths of AI as virtual assistants?
So strengths were the number 1 key point, and the 2 major takeaways were contributed first by Jay and second by Joanna. And Jay talked about, kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in what I just talked about in the summary, that routine tasks are best handled by a virtual agent. So, when we're talking about things that are fairly, mundane, ordinary, they're really great. And as I've said before, they're inexpensive and efficient. And that the underlying technology is really dealing with a lot of data and being able to take care of a lot of activities without failing. So virtual assistants really, really play that role well. And then Joanna talked about that other aspect. So in her contribution, she had talked about general knowledge. She had talked about a smart home, which will come up a little bit later, and then what she called others. And others really involved a lot of your daily activities like ordering food, making reservations, online shopping, just for 3 examples.
Great. And in key point 2, you go into weaknesses, right?
Correct. So, which we've kind of experienced before when we've done our executive summaries for our themes. First, we start off with strengths, which is like the yin, and then we do weaknesses, which is the yang. And so the second key point in weaknesses, the key takeaways, one by Jenna and the other by Jay. Jenna talked about routine versus complex tasks, and that there's a certain level of emotional support that customers expect. And without human interaction, kind of as a second dimension, she felt that virtual assistants were vulnerable or weak in that respect. And then Jay talked about, as tasks get more complex, there's nothing better than two human beings having a conversation about it, and that virtual assistant would be lacking in that regard.
I'm always surprised when I get a human. Catches me a little bit off guard. I'm not sure what to do.
Exactly.
What about threats?
Okay, so our third one is threats. And there was really one major takeaway for that kind of all encompassed it. And Carla talked about Microsoft, seeing the vision for the future with a personal digital assistant being an alter ego or kind of a second self. And so that would be kind of a scary proposition, similar to the things that Facebook and Google, social media is facing today. And she thought that government and academic intervention determining, ethical implications and things in our daily lives would come into play.
So I'm not sure I'm in agreement on this, Raul. As you get into the best virtual assistant, who wins?
Well, on key point 4, Jay was pretty adamant about Google's assistant as being the best virtual assistant, while Donald talked about Alexa. And so in that regard, we're talking about, again, these big titans in big data analytics and all kinds of artificial intelligence, Amazon, Microsoft, Google being the big players.
It is kind of weird that how big Amazon is. I mean, just it's really enormous, isn't it?
It is. It
kind of snuck up on us just a little bit, right? But then it wasn't a surprise that it's the big gorilla.
Well, Jeff Bezos knows no limits, and that's what real entrepreneurs do today.
All right, so let's get into key point number 5, which is this personal concierge from a virtual assistant. Are we getting close to that?
So in this case, we're looking at opportunities, and Rob and Joanna came away with the 2 key opportunities that I felt were most important to this. And one was, which I thought was really fascinating, what about helping people who have disadvantages, physical, cognitive, etc., and how a virtual assistant could really, really play such a beneficial role in that regard. And Joanna talked about the smart home, and in that regard, I mean, we're just beginning to tap, and there's all kinds of companies out there beyond virtual assistants that are playing that role in the smart home from a security standpoint, from an environmental standpoint, all kinds of different ways.
Well, Raul, I know you had a very active panel. We talked about that. Here are the top 3 experts. But I would like to know if you had other takeaways that we didn't get a chance to get to here in theme number 5.
Gene, we did, and I wanted to mention a few of them. So while Jack has been, a major contributor all along, he had some personal obligations and jumped on a little bit late on this theme, but he contributed some very interesting things. For example, he said a well-designed and engineered chat form that could be allowed to provide for bits of information to verify identity, upload picture, etc., could be really important. Then Jay talked about in the next few years, we're going to see a lot more options with operating systems using virtual assistants and gadgets that are all going to kind of merge together. Then AI is an adopted technology for the future, and programming is very vital. So we had a new entry to the panel, John, and he talked about that, and that people-to-people relationships is and will most likely also have value. And then Jack brought up about a real challenge being the fear about bad outcomes, sort of from a pragmatic perspective, and the benefits that are achievable today. So the fear of missing out may be the best substitution and drive enthusiasm for adopting virtual assistants. So that just gives you a few extra ones that we didn't touch upon. I also incorporated a survey into this theme that wasn't directly related to the current theme, but we wanted to explore what everybody thought our next theme and future themes topics should be on. And so we did that. And our next theme that we're currently running is what are companies doing to promote or ensure that AI positively impacts the customer journey. And man, we're getting all kinds of participation on that. It's very exciting.
Can't wait to hear that and can't wait to follow up with you. Nice job on this, Raul. Thank you for all this information.
Appreciate it, Gene. I look forward to working with you again.
He's Raul Grunberg. He's a strategic consultant and a private label marketing specialist. And I look forward to our next conversation, Raul. Thank you again.
You're welcome.